Okay, hello everyone. My name is Soledad Alborno. I'm a product manager at Google. I'm here to talk about what to pack for your GenAI adventure. So we are going to talk about what skills can you reuse when building products, GenAI products, and what are the new skills and new tools that we have to learn to build successful products. So this is me. I'm from Argentina. That's why I have this accent. I'm an information system engineer. I was engineer for 10 years and then moved to product. And this is me with my family in the World Cup, well, watching the World Cup. And I'm advocate for equality and diversity. You can see me here with my Google crew in Grace Hopper Conference. And I live in San Jose, California. And I've been building GenAI products for the last 2 years. In fact, my first product in 2023 was Summarize. Summarize was the first GenAI product or feature for Google Assistant. So we had a vision on building something that helped the user get the gist of long-form text. So have you ever received a link from a friend or someone that you know saying, like, you have to read this, and you open it, it's so long and you don't have time? So that's the moment when you pull up Google Assistant and now Gemini, and you ask, OK, give me a summary of this. And it's going to create a quick summary of the information you have in your screen. So in this case, this is how it looks like. You tap the Summarize button, and it generates a summary that you can see in 3 bullet points. We will talk about, OK, when I started this product and what I learned at the end. So when I started building Summarize, I thought I was like a very seasoned product manager, 10 years of experience. I can do any kind of products. Let's start. And that was good. Like, I had a lot of tools in my backpack. So on the way, I learned that I had to interact with this big monster, non-deterministic monster that is LLM and GenAI, which I call it here Moby Dick. So in my journey of building this product, I learned to treat and build data sets. I learned to create ratings and evals, and I will share with you some tips on how do we build those evals and data sets so it makes a successful product. I had to learn to deal with hallucinations, very long latencies, and how do we make this thing faster. So because you ask for a summary, you don't want to wait 10 seconds to get the result. And trust and safety. So a lot of things related to GenAI are related to trust and safety, and we had to work with that. So in order to start, I know you are coming from outside, and you have been sitting there for a few minutes. So I'm going to start with a few questions so you can exercise and move a little, and we can wake up. So stand up if you have ever used any kind of LLM. Yeah, everyone, of course, almost. OK, sit down. Stand up if you have used prompt engineering to build a product. Just prompt engineering, you set up some roles for the model, you made it work. OK, stand up if you are right now building a GenAI product in your role. Yeah, you are very brave. Thank you. Stand up if you ever have fine-tuned a model. Great. Stand up if you design evals or analyze ratings results for a product. Stand up if you believe your current tools and skills are useful to create GenAI products. Everyone stand up. They are. Whatever you know is very useful to create AI products. So my role is to be a product manager. In order to be a product manager, I need to know my users. I'm the voice of the user in my products. I need to know technology because I build technical solutions for my users. And I need to know business, because whatever product I build needs to be good for my business and be aligned to the strategy. So that's my role. And in my role, the tools and skills that I get as anyone that works in any startup or how to lead any project know is the first one is business and market fit. So I need to know who are my competitors, what's happening in this market, how to align to the business goals, how do we make money with this product. Still very relevant in the GenAI world. No changes there. I need to know who are my target users. Are these professional users? Are these people, students? They are doctors? What is the age I'm targeting? Very important as well for generative AI products. You need to know your users because they will interact with the product. I need to know what are the users' pain points. What are their problems? What are the things that will help me understand how to build a solution for them and prove that my solution helped them to solve a real problem and bring real value to them. I need to know then, work with my teams and everyone to build a solution for those problems. And to build that solution, I'm going to write the requirements. This is still very relevant terms for any product, software product. There are a little difference there that we will talk about in the next slide. And last, two things are metrics. We need to know how to measure this product to be successful, and go to market. How are we going to push this product in the market, our marketing strategies, and so on. So everything relevant, all your skills, everything that you have in your backpack so far, everything is useful for GenAI. The difference is in the solution and requirements. And there are very small differences there. This is where we need to help our engineering teams to pick the right GenAI stack. And they will start asking, what type of model? Do I need a small model, a big model, a model on device? Does it need to be multimodal or text only? What is this model and how do we pick it, right? So next, I'm going to work with someone in this audience about a little exercise that will help us to understand what is the difference between a small model and a big model, and why do we care? The first thing I want to tell you is we care because small models are cheaper to run than bigger models. That's the first thing why we care. But let's see what is the quality of them. So who loves traveling here? Any traveler? Okay. I have some. Who can help me? I need a microphone here. Do we have a microphone in the room? Thank you, Michelle. Okay. Who can help me with this question? Come on, it's easy. No one. Well, thank you, Lee. Okay, Lee, your task is super simple. Using only those words, adventure, new, lost, food, luggage, and beach, you have to answer 3 questions. Only those words. Why do you love traveling?
Definitely not luggage. Food and beach and adventure. And new. There you go.
Okay. Describe a problem you had when traveling.
Luggage, lost, new, adventure.
What's your dream vacation?
Restricted to those words?
Yes.
Adventure.
Okay. So as you can see, it's a little hard to answer these very easy questions with restricted vocabulary. So this represents a model with few parameters. So it's fast to run, it's only few choices, but it's cheaper, but the response is not that good. It doesn't feel like human. So what happens when we add a little more words to the same exercise? And Lee, I'm going to give you your help here. So it's the same questions. So now we have extra words: adventure, new, lost, food, luggage, beach. In paradise, our airport discover, relax, and sun. Why do you love traveling?
Adventure, discover, relax. Definitely paradise. Not the, I don't know why I want to do that.
Thank you. So describe a problem you had when traveling.
Lost. New. The sun, sometimes.
Okay, and what is your dream vacation?
Not airport. Beach, adventure paradise, sun.
Okay, so we are getting a little better, getting a little longer responses. Still some hallucination in the middle. Hallucination means that, okay, the model is inventing stuff that is not in the intent of the response because it doesn't have more information than what we have here in the vocabulary. So the last one is, okay, user all the words in the British dictionary and at least 3 words. We are introducing some prompt here. Why do you love traveling?
I like to travel because I like the adventure of going to new places and discovering the history and the culture of the people.
Perfect. Describe a problem you had when traveling.
Airports, usually 3 words though. Lost money, getting lost.
Nice. What is your dream vacation?
Going somewhere new that the people are friendly and inviting.
Thank you. Thank you very much for volunteering. So as you can see, when the model has more information, more parameters, then it's easier for the answers to be better quality and to represent human in a better way. You can borrow this exercise to present this to anyone, any customer that doesn't know about how this works. And it works very well. I did it a couple of times. Okay, so now let's go back to the requirements. So how do we make sure that we help the engineering team to define the right model or the right stack to use in my product? There are many things we need to define. But 4 of the things that are very, very important are the input and the output, but not in the general way. But we need to think about what are the modalities. Is my system text only, text, images, voices, video, attachment, document? What is the input of my process and my product? What is the output? Is it text? Is it images? Are we generating images? Are we updating images? What is the output that we need from the model? Accuracy versus creativity. Is this a product to help people create new things? Like is it a GenAI product for Canvas or to create images for social networks, for TikTok, for Instagram? What is it? If it's creative, then it's okay. It's very easy. LLMs are very creative. But if we need more accuracy, like a GenAI product to help doctors to diagnose illnesses, then we need accuracy. And that's a different topic. So it's a different model, different techniques. We will use RAG or fine-tuning in a different way. And the last one is how much domain-specific knowledge. Is this just a chatbot that talks about whatever the user will ask, or is it a customer support agent for a specific business? In which case, you need to upload all the domain-specific knowledge from that business. For instance, if it is doing recommendations to buy a product, you need to upload all the information for the product. So for summarize, I have the following requirements. So user input was text. We started thinking, okay, and we are going to use the text and the images from the articles, but then the responses were not improving, and the model was slower, so we decided to use text to start, and the responses were good enough for our product. In the output, we said, okay, what is the output? And here was a little complicated because we all know what a summary is, right? But we all have different definitions of a summary. I had to use user experience research to understand what is a summary for my users. Is it like 2 paragraphs, 1 paragraph, 2 sentences, 3 bullet points? Is it 50 words or 300 words? All of these matter when we decide what is this product going to do. So we had to go a little into talking with a lot of people and understanding, okay, at the end of the day, what we decided is 3 bullet points was like something that everyone would agree a good summary. And we went with that definition for my output. We wanted no hallucinations, and not in the typical term of did not add flowers in an article that is talking about the stock. It was no hallucination in the sense, do not add any information that is not in the original article. Because LLMs were trained with all of this massive amount of information, they tend to fill in the gaps, and the summaries will have information from other places. So we needed to make sure the summary accurately represented the article. And for that, we had to create metrics and numbers. Actually, metrics, automated metrics. It's a number that represents how good the summary represents the original article. So we did that to improve our quality of the summaries too. And last, we didn't have any domain-specific knowledge. We just had the input from the article we were trying to summarize. So one of the things, once we have all the requirements, we say, OK, how do we start developing this thing? The first thing was create a good data set. So we started, when I work with my product teams, we work with a small, medium, and large data set. The small data set is 100 inputs that we can get from different previous studies, from logs of our previous system or whatever. Sometimes the team makes the inputs. We create 100 prompts, and we test. So that's a small data set. And it's nice because in a small data set, you can have different prompts, different models, different results from different models for the same prompt, and you can compare it with your eyes. And you can feel what is better and feel where is the missing point for each of them. We have a medium data set that usually I use that with the raters and in the evals. That's about 300 examples. And a large data set, it's like 3,000 examples or more, depending on the context, on the product. But that big data set is more for training and validation and fine-tuning. So first, we create our data sets. Second, when I had the 100 examples data set, we went to prompt engineering and just take the foundational model, do some prompting, just generate a summary for this, and get the results. And maybe do another one with generate a summary in 3 bullet points. Generate a summary that is shorter than 250 words. So we try different prompts so we can evaluate this thing. Then, in some of the cycles, we also have model customization. Here is when we use RAG or fine-tuning to improve the model. And the evaluation, which is actually using an evaluation criteria, we send these examples to raters, people that will say this is good or not, or more or less, and then we can have patterns. And we use these patterns to add more data to the data set. And go again. So this is a cycle, and we keep going until we feel that the quality is good and the result of the evaluation is good. So what is next is, OK, how do we make sure the evaluation is good? What is a good summary for me may be a bad summary for Alfredo or for someone else. So we have what we call evaluation criteria. And for that, we will try it out. So this is what you see in top is the abstract of this talk that we are here today, right? What happened, it's in the QCon page, and it's basically describing what I'm going to talk about in this talk today. I asked LLMs to generate 3 summaries, 1, 2, and 3. So the first summary was created in a paragraph format. And it actually talks about the presentation. We'll have the essential tools, the skills to develop GenAI products. It talks about governing core product manager principles and consideration for building LLMs and so on. The second one is very not formal. It's like GenAI stuff, AI products or whatever. So yeah, it's a summary, but it's a very different tone. And the third one is just 3 bullet points, very short, and it doesn't have a lot of details. So who here thinks that the first one is the best summary for this text? Raise your hand. Yeah. Who here thinks that the second one is the best summary? No one? Or someone over there? Good. Who thinks the third one is the best summary here? Great. So as you can see, we have different perception. This is subjective. So we need to create an evaluation criteria. So in the evaluation criteria, this is an example, not the one that we created, but in this evaluation criteria, we have 4 different things. We have format quality. So is the response clear? Is it like human language? Does it have the right amount of words or the right format? Completeness, which is, does the summary has all the key points from the original text? Conciseness, which is does it have only the necessary content without being repetitive or too detailed? And accuracy, which is, does the summary has information only from the original text? So what we do with this, once we set up the evaluation criteria, we send this evaluation criteria with a sample of about 300 prompts or texts to raters and ask them, can you evaluate this? And what they see, usually there are tools like this, where they can see 2 summary or 3 summaries next to each other. And they have to rate, okay, from 1 to 5, formal quality, which of them has the best format? You can see like number 3 is a little more structured, has more points than number 2. Which of them is more complete? Number 1 has more details than number 3. Which of them is more accurate? And you can see, like, for instance, number 3 maybe is not that accurate because it says like LLM considerations. I don't know if that was part of the original text. And conciseness, number 3 was more concise. So what happened here is that usually we use raters. 2 or 3 raters will rate each of the data points. So we can create average. And this is a 300 data set. So that will give me actually an indication, because for some summaries, some text is going to be tricky, but for others, no. So in general, we will have a sense of how good is the summary based on this evaluation criteria. So the last point is our risk assessment. So once we have all our summaries and the full product, we need to think about 3 topics: trust and safety, legal, and privacy. And this will also be part of the dataset generation later. For instance, can we summarize articles that talk about which poisonous mushrooms, which mushrooms can we use to make a meal to eat? And if true, like, how do we check that the summary generated is actually safe and it will not do any damage to any of our users? We have seen examples of this. This was from last week, where AI told users to eat poisonous mushroom. We don't want that happening. So we really need to think about our output. Is it safe, always safe? What are the risk patterns? Like in traditional software, we were always thinking about what are the attack vectors? Okay, what are the risk patterns we have in this product? And how do we add data to the data set so we can prove that the model is reacting well? We have legal concerns. And one of the things I always care about when we talk about legal is where is the data coming from? The data that we are using in our data sets. Do we have access to that data? And is it generated or not? And also, legal comes into play when we have things like, for instance, disclaimers. What are we going to tell our users about the use of LLMs? how do we tell them that we may have hallucinations? And privacy, which is what do we do with the personal information we feed this machine? In some cases, there is no personal information, which is great. But when we have personal information, how do we create data sets to prove that the personal information is not put at risk? Okay? So with that, I want to say that all of our tools that we learned with product creation are useful for GenAI products. There are a few new skills and things that come into play, but these things will keep changing. New tools will be added, new processes will be created, and everything in GenAI, the only constant is change. So with that, I'm going to thank you for listening, and I will ask, do you have any questions?
Okay, you talked about evaluation criteria, and could they have been generated by AI as well?
Yes. And the evaluation criteria is not only the definition of what are the areas that we want to evaluate, but we need to provide description of that evaluation criteria to our raters. And what does it mean to have 1 star versus 5 stars versus 3 stars? Usually all of that goes into the description because when you have like a team of 20 raters, we need them to use the same criteria to evaluate. Yeah. Any other question?
So you mentioned definition of a summary is different for different people. So you gathered some data through user experience research. And Google has those resources, but not every other company does. Are there any product intuition that you can share with us that, if we don't have those resources, how can we approach these problems?
You start with product intuition, yes, very important. But then I think team food and dog food are very important, and to have the instrumentation to measure that in team food and dog food, to measure the success. I think that's important. Sometimes when we develop products, and this is not GenAI products in general, we leave the metrics to the end. And we didn't have time to implement these metrics, and we release anyway. And sometimes we do that, but then we risk gathering this information that is so important. So start there with good metrics, and then try it in team food and dog food, like small groups of users. And then test different things until you have something that works better, and then you go to production. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your talk. So I had 2 questions. The first one was about something you mentioned at the beginning, that for the same prompt, you can get different results. How do you then manage to make your development lifecycle reproducible? Do you have any tips for that?
In my experience, building GenAI products in the last 2 years, the best way I've seen to control the diversity of results was with fine-tuning and providing examples to the machine of what do I want it to generate. In the beginning, in Summarize, and this was in the beginning of GenAI, so it was very different to what it is just a few months later. But in the beginning, we would say, generate a summary under 150 words, and the thing would generate 400-word summary. And we were like, no way, how we cannot ship something like that. So we had to use a lot of examples before, so the machine understood what it is, a 150-word summary, to do it. If you use Gemini 1.5 now, for instance, it knows what it is 150 words, and it's better to follow instructions, so you may not need that fine-tuning.
The other question, for the evaluation study, did you use human raters, or did you also use GenAI to evaluate?
We used both, because we have resources. Then you can hire a company to do the ratings. Yeah, we use that. because it's important to have human input. But we also generated automatic rating systems that basically is kind of our first version of those systems. Now it's very more complex than that, but the first version of those systems, and what I'm doing with my friends as well, is like ask an LLM in a second instance to rate the previous result, and you feed the rules and the evaluation criteria, and it's going to generate good ratings too.
Thank you for your talk. I'm curious how you protect against or think about like bias in your evaluation criteria. Because even as I was thinking about like summarizing, women just on average use a lot more words than men in a given day. So I'm curious, like they probably have different ideas of like what they want a summary to be. So I'm just curious, like how you approach that in general, and like with the evaluation criterion specific, like how do you define like what complete is? Or
What we used in that sense, because this summary was a summary of the original text may have bias, and the summary will have bias. But that's by design, because what we tested is that the summary reflects what is in the original article. So if you are reading an article that you don't agree with the content and you know it has flaws, and you generate a summary, you should be able to realize those flaws in the summary. So in this case, for a summary, it's not a problem because it's going to be based on the original text. You don't want to insert any bias, but that you measure by comparing those two things. But in other products, you may have bias, and that's a different thing.
Thank you. So this is a good description of product development, how you launched in the first place. How do you then think of product management? So the four tech stacks continue to evolve. There's knowledge cutoff. There's new capabilities. When do you go back and revisit?
I was thinking about that when I was this morning. LLMs keep evolving. Every version is better than the previous one. So I think what is important in my life cycle is that the data set, the evaluation criteria, and the process that we use to make sure that the results are good do not change. So you can change the machine, and you can fine-tune and make it like smaller or bigger or whatever. And then you still have the framework to test and produce the same quality, or actually check if the new model has a better quality or not. So it's very important to have this time in what are my requirements, what is my evaluation criteria, and what is my data set that I will use.
How do you deal with different languages potentially having different constraints on them? So for example, yesterday we were discussing Spanish. You usually need more words to express the same thing. So 300 words in Spanish, you may be able to convey less content than 300 words in English.
Okay, so a couple of things there. First, you want your data set to be diverse and representative to your user base. So if your user base is multiple languages, then you have multiple languages in your data set and your criteria. Second, I forgot. No, so I think it's the 300 words. I think it was 150 words, but I don't remember the number we set. But we set the number based on the time it would take to read those words. So how much, because assistant is a system that you use, you can ask, it's voice-based too. You can ask, give me a summary and listen to a summary. Like we measure that the summary should be able to be read in like less than 2 minutes or something like that. So you create a metric that will, it's not based on the language, but based on the amount of attention you need to process the output.
I was reading through your circle life cycle diagram, and like it kind of presents like a system, right? So I was kind of wondering, because it's a system, it probably has momentum to it. What happens if one of the components fails? For example, like evaluation criteria, or like, for example, you have raters, and then it turns out your rating company that you use is not trustworthy, and you have to kick it out. How do you kind of stabilize the system when there's a sudden crash?
Between the evaluation phase and the dataset augmentation phase, you need to do some analysis. So if you see that everything is good, you still have your small data set that you can like visualize and check one by one. If there are big errors, you will find them because there are so many raters and so many data in the data set that you need to be able to highlight those errors. Sometimes what we do is we remove some of these outliers from the data set and or pay special attention to them and increase the data set using more examples like those. So it's all about the evaluation of the result of the evaluation phase. Okay. Thank you very much.